Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesday. It's September 30th, 2025. We're very glad you're with us this afternoon. Please note this event will be recorded, and the recording will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For everybody who's on Zoom, feel free to open up the chat box, put in your name, put it in the position you're looking for. Let us know what target companies you have. If you have companies you can help other people with, please list those. Put in your LinkedIn address, put in your email address. Connect with everybody else who's on the call today, because this is a great way to expand your connections, and you never know who's going to be able to help you with a link for your next job. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. If you see me, I always have copies with me. Since 2007, I've led the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. That group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader landed a job. And I'll tell you about our upcoming program this Friday at the end of this meeting. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the PIT Crew. For more information, you can just go to dallaspitcrew.com. Well, we have four outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn. They rotate on a monthly basis. Today, our speaker is Kurt VandeMotter. He's a retained search executive at Linked Executive Search. He's going to talk about LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye, how he's going to try to find you. So, Kurt, thank you very much for being with us, and it's all yours. You're muted.
How's that?
There we go.
Good. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. And how do I change the view? There we go. Turn it over to me. Well, there we go. Got it. Okay. So welcome everybody. Thanks for being here today. I start this meeting off by just reminding everybody that this call is not about me. It's about you. It's about the people that have taken time out of your day to join this conversation. And so if you've got questions, there's a question that's been burning, or you've wanted to ask me a question, or you've wanted to talk about the way you got treated by a recruiter, or if there's anything that you've always wanted to ask a recruiter a question about, I highly encourage you to throw that into the chat or raise your hand, and Jeff will take your question. We're going to bounce around on a number of different subjects here. And so don't wait for your subject to come up before you want to ask a question. If you've got something you want to talk about, your time is very valuable, and we recognize that, and we want to make sure that you go away with action items, things that you can take back to your desk. So with that said, Jeff's my wingman. He'll keep an eye on that chat box. I was just going through it real quickly, Jeff, to see if there were any low-hanging fruit that I could help with. I think Jeff's point as far as networking with and inviting other people that are on this call and in other places that you meet, quite frankly, is absolutely critical in a job search. Your network is your net worth right now. And that may sound kind of superficial and cute, but the fact is you all have a network of people that you've met with, people that you've talked to, people that you've worked with. And it's really important that you keep your network engaged as far as what's going on in your career right now. I'll start by telling a quick story. I had a call earlier today with a guy that was a HR executive, smaller company, 300 employees. I didn't get the revenue from him, but a couple lessons out of the conversation I had with this executive. And I hear this often. And so maybe it's something that will resonate with somebody that you or somebody that you've met that you can offer advice to. But um, I had never met this person. He was introduced to me through somebody else that I knew. And he called me. I told him to call me anytime this morning. He called me, and the first 4 minutes, he kind of just vomited all over his previous employer and said, I knew it was coming. Well, he was running HR. He sure should have known it was coming. But he didn't say anything disparaging about his previous employer. He said that they were taking good care of him. Um, but the reason I share that is that after he got done, I want to offer you a suggestion here. I said, whether you take it now or you learn or hear about it from somebody else, you and I don't even know each other. We've never talked. We've never met. And instead of taking time to give me a 30-second elevator pitch about who you are and some of the things you've accomplished in the last 2 years, you started it off with a lot of negative information, and I'm used to that. I'm accustomed to it. I get it all the time. But at the same time, I think that this executive, if he were to position himself differently in the opening 30 seconds, 45 seconds on calls, he might find the conversation and the tables turn a little bit for him. So I offer that to as advice to everybody on the call. Again, not that I have ever taken a call from anybody on this call or anybody on this meeting that I've got a negative experience about, but I just give that to you as a suggestion. Another story was I can remember about 6 years ago, there was a woman that I went to church with, her and her husband and kids, and I knew quite well over a long time. She had graduated from SMU, and she had been with a company for 33 years. And she asked to get together with me and meet about her search and what she should be doing. And I can remember meeting at Starbucks. And for the first 30 minutes, she cried. I mean, she was so mad at her company that how could you let me go after 32 years of service? This is the only job I've ever had. I had an internship with you in college and then all the way through 32 years. And my advice to this woman was, what I really want you to do is I want you to take the next couple months off. And I don't want you to look for a job. You need to heal first. You need to find peace. You need to go back to scripture and find peace in this decision, because the way you're reacting, the way you're communicating right now, I'm sorry, but there's probably not anybody that I can even imagine that would hire you. So you got to get that confidence back. You've got to get that stride going again, in order to heal and to be able to have a positive communication with somebody. So hopefully, just a couple of words of wisdom off the top. When I was talking to this HR executive, though, one of the things that came up was um, I offered him some advice at the end that I think many of you may be able to find a golden nugget in it. But he was in HR, and he had a lot of people that tried to sell him a lot of stuff, software, technology, HRIS software, benefits, unemployed benefits, training programs. Because he was in a manufacturing environment, I'm sure that there were a lot of OSHA and other types of companies that were calling on him as the lead in their organization. Um, and one of the things that he hadn't even thought about doing yet was to make a list of all of those people that have called on him before as a way to call in a favor that he could then ask for. So even though he may not have bought anything from one of the benefits company, even though he may not have bought any software from a particular HRS company, these people are out talking to companies like the one that he worked for every day. They're out selling, communicating, sending white papers, trying to develop relationships with the same kinds of people in a specific geographic area every day. They know where the openings are. They know where the HR leader was let go. They know where there is a new opportunity coming up the pipe. And so they're great people to network with. This is just an example of taking off the blinders during your job search. I'm sorry to say, as we get older, we know a lot. I just spent the weekend with my kids um, in Fayetteville, and those of you that have never been to Fayetteville, it's a beautiful little town. Great, excursion for a couple of days from Dallas. Beautiful mountain country, and the Irish beat Arkansas, which is even better. So anyway, um, when I'm with my kids, I have to be really careful about, offering what would be considered too much advice. I have to become a really good listener and then choose the things that I want to maybe offer them some suggestions on. So we know a lot, but what I want you to do is during your job searches, you got to take all those blinders off. Many of you are in this position for the first time in your career. You've never had to look for a new job ever before. And so you're in a real uncomfortable territory. And that's normal, and there's nothing to be worried about. But do remember that finding a job is a full-time job. I mean, it's a full-time job. It's not a 4 hours and play golf every day. It is a full-time job, and it's probably the hardest job you'll ever have. And I only say that because um, I say that because um, whoop, I switched that accidentally, Jeff. Um, I say that because thank you. Um, because you get rejected every day, you get ghosted by recruiters, you get ghosted by companies. You see jobs that you applied for online, and then 2 months later, they're back again. Um, so there's a lot of things that are going on in today's world that are causing the situation that you might be experiencing. I think this is as good a time as any, Jeff, to just talk about the general market. We're in a real slowdown right now, and if you haven't been experiencing that throughout the whole year, for recruiters, it's been equally as slow. And I say that, okay, not because I'm Corn Ferry and I get all kinds of statistics and research every day, but I do remember back in middle of June where Corn Ferry did publish an article that was put out to the world about the slow how much the recruiting industry had slowed down, and only because Forbes has recognized me as being one of the top search firms in the United States, number one in Texas. Do companies call me frequently to fill jobs? So a lot of family business, for a lot of people that are looking for a recruiter, Forbes is a very fast way to go to find some of the best recruiters, and maybe somebody that you know or somebody locally in your market. So for those reasons, I do get calls, and those calls haven't been coming as frequently as they used to. So that's the space that we're in. I used to make a forecast, and I'm going to quit doing that. I can't tell you when it's going to come back. I really don't know. But similar to the advice that I would give you during the holidays, which is a lot of candidates have a tendency to back off their search and take the month of Thanksgiving to New Year's off. I don't encourage you to do that. I think that you've got to keep a full court press, because even though companies aren't hiring as much and as frequently, companies are hiring. People are getting new jobs. And if there's a job out there that you can get, I don't want you to consider a forecast from me that suggests that this is a good time to take a vacation. I think any time is a good time to take a vacation if you can get away and you can afford the time and you can continue to do the search work that you're doing, be available by phone and so forth. But um, don't take time off literally to go tour Europe for a couple of months, because I don't know when it's going to pick back up. But when it does, I think we're going to see a surge, maybe not like we've ever seen before, but I think we're going to see a pretty dynamic surge. What role does AI have in all of this that's going on? That's a question that a lot of candidates always want to know about. Um, and I would tell you that as a recruiter, companies aren't hiring me to go use AI to find a candidate. Okay. It's just simply said as that. I mean, there are a lot of AI tools out there. My son is involved with one, and it's a tool to help recruiters find you more quickly. Um, he talks about a company that he works with that it takes a company sometimes in the upwards of 3 to 4 weeks to build a list of candidates that they can then submit to a company for a calibration. And if I was a hiring manager and I was using that recruiting firm, I would fire them immediately. Um, so let's start the next conversation, Jeff, and let's just talk about the different kind of recruiters because I think that's always beneficial to people. Is that a good idea?
Sure, yeah, before you do it, Jonathan's got his hand up. Jonathan, want to unmute your mic and ask away?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Jonathan Doshad. So I have to, I unfortunately have to leave the call a little bit early. So I just want to ask a question real quick. So my experience, what I've been doing is, I mean, I'm in front of the computer for about 13 hours. I'm networking, I'm calling in old favors. Like Dallas is just a very challenging market. I've had recruiters call me and they're like, can you relocate? Unfortunately, I cannot. I can travel, but I cannot relocate. Um, but recruiters, like what I've been finding is, so I'm also trying to, through my over 20 years of experience in ops, supply chain manufacturing, logistics, I've done a lot of project management from super yacht refits to yacht builds to launching towers at resorts in Las Vegas. And so I'm looking to try and get into the construction side of project management. Clearly, I have experience, but a lot of the recruiters are saying if you don't have, the PMP through PMI or you don't have a BCM degree, there's nothing I can do with you. I start talking about my experience and the level of everything, and you have the soft skills, then you have the hard skills which can be taught, and just I guess if you could just kind of talk to because to what I'm experiencing because I'm getting a little frustrated. Recruiters will reach out to you and won't stop calling you if they need something from you, but then it's like you even walking into a smaller construction company trying to go old school and say, hey, I just want to walk in and talk to somebody so I can like talk through my skill set and how it would translate to the experience would translate. Like, sir, everything's online. There's nobody here to see you. Nobody wants to see you. That was one of them. One of them told me that. Unless you have an appointment, blah, blah, blah. So is there any method to the madness you could add? My LinkedIn's at almost a 6. I've been working on my LinkedIn. My SSI score is almost at a 60. I'm in the top 1% for one of them and 11% for the other one. And then the other ones, and those are the ones closest to one that you want to get. But then the other two scores at the bottom, I'm like mid-range. But I'm just, I'm trying to beat every bush I possibly can think of, network, and it seems like it's, it's at a standstill.
Got it. Okay. Well, good question, Jonathan. I understand your frustration. The first thing I would do is when I talk about job hunt as being a full-time job, you need to get away from the computer. You don't need to be spending 13 hours there. Okay. I don't know if you take that time and go for a walk or get on your bicycle or read a book or do something else, but I don't think I would slow down a little bit. I think that the question that you bring up is a really good one because what I want to encourage you to do is whether it's somebody on this call or it's somebody that is in your network or somebody that you meet at one of the networking events. You said you're in Dallas, is that correct? Dallas couldn't be a better if when not when the economy because the economy is relatively strong, but when the job market picks up again, you couldn't be in a better place. The thing we got to do, Jonathan, is make sure that you get the next job in the area that you want, and we don't give it to somebody coming from California or New York. Okay, so what I want you to really consider doing is in this project management in the construction space is to see if you can find somebody, and my mind's spinning right now. My eyes are shut. I'm not sure that I have a name I can give you right off the bat, but I want you to try to find somebody that you can go talk to, to do, I say a practice interview, but to just have a conversation and say, here are my skill sets. This is my desire. I know I can be very successful in the construction industry, but will you help me with my story so that the next time I tell it, it's even more compelling than before? What the advice that I'm giving you is what we've got to do is people have to often build bridges between what they did before and what they're going to go do. When you're going from one industry to another, you've got to build that bridge. You've got to make it really easy, Jonathan, for the hiring manager, or worst case, somebody in HR. If you're going through recruiters, you're dealing with younger recruiters, and I'll pause here and share a story that when you're dealing with younger recruiters, if your resume isn't 99% of exactly what the job description says, you will not get the interview. Young recruiters, and that's nothing against young people, but younger people in recruiting roles typically don't have the breadth of experience, and they don't generally take the time to say, Jonathan isn't exactly what we're looking for, but man, when you talk about having experience with these three things and some of the problems that the hiring manager is trying to solve, I'm going to I'm going to go into that hiring manager's office for 10 minutes with just run one resume and challenge that manager that this may be a guy we should look at. Maybe this is a guy you're not going to get that from a young recruiter.
Right.
Okay. Those internal recruiters are filling 40, 50 jobs at a time, and they have blinders like this. It's like they are looking for something very, very specific. Only when you get into the retained search and you get somebody that's been retained, or some contingent recruiters that may have a good enough relationship with a hiring manager to say, I'm going to show you a few people that are on the peripheral, not because I don't believe you and what you're looking for, but these are really qualified people and they do check a lot of the boxes. So first thing first, we got to find somebody that you can align yourself that's in the construction business, that you can go have an honest, it's got to be a hiring manager, somebody that makes hiring decisions that you can have an honest discussion with. You talked about, updating your LinkedIn profile. Great. You obviously have been on calls with some of the other leaders here. I didn't even know what an SSI score was until I got on the presentation a month or so ago. So my hat's off to you for doing all those things, and you need to continue to do those things. But make sure that your resume and your LinkedIn profile reads like a construction project manager, logistics, supply chain. Okay. Even though you've come from other industries, make sure you're picking up on the key words that they have in their job descriptions. And it might be that you called something X, but the construction industry calls it Y. You need to make sure the Y's are throughout your LinkedIn profile and your resume to try to open up as many of those doors as you possibly can. But are you going to some of the networking events at like South Lake Focus Group and Frisco Connect and some of the other ones that are out there?
Yeah, I was doing a lot of them. Then I had to dial it back because I wasn't getting anything else done.
Yep.
So yeah, I go to South Lake Focus Group on Thursday. I do the executive Zoom call on Monday. I got the supply chain logistics one tomorrow.
Great. Okay. And you're absolutely right. For everybody else on this call, you can do too much networking. If I lived in South Dallas and I had to go to South Lake every week for a meeting, it would take the whole day, because you got to be out there at 8:30, 9 o'clock. It goes till noon, 1 o'clock. Then if people want to talk, that takes you to 3 o'clock, and then you got another hour to drive home. So, Jonathan, I understand that, and you're smart, so you know where to draw the line and the limits and what you can do and what you can't do. Another recommendation, Jonathan, that might help you as well is if you can find an accountability group. Are there 2 or 3 other guys that are looking for the same kind of positions that you're looking for. Okay. If you can find a couple of those people that you can network with on a weekly basis, that would be awesome. And let me tell you why. Other people know where the jobs are at, and they may be getting jobs that come across their desk that they're not a fit for, that you could be a great fit for. Okay. And the other key is when we have accountability groups that we get together with people on a weekly basis, one of those people is going to land. And when they land, they've got two of the people that have been in their accountability group, and they go back to all the people that they've been talking to and say, hey, take a half hour out of your time, take 20 minutes out of your time and meet with Jonathan, because even though I didn't get the job, he's somebody that you want to have on your radar. He's somebody that you want to meet. So those are the reasons that we want to do that. Accountability groups are great also because, again, we want to keep the jobs in Dallas. So 3 is better than 1. Okay. So anything we can do to keep the jobs here in Dallas. Is any of this been helpful, Jonathan?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And one
Well,
more thing,
Go ahead.
Jonathan, one more thing I'd want to add is just remind any recruiter that says you don't have your PMP, just say, well, don't forget, we went to the moon and we didn't have one certified project manager.
Good point.
Right. Well, I do bring up like I do draw up an analysis between like universities, because every university is accredited, but the accreditation is different. So I'll choose like my undergrad is at Michigan State, my grad is at A&M. So I'll choose one of those, and then I'll choose, another university I know is not on the same accreditation, but is very well known. And I just, I work it in. It's obviously nice. I'm not attacking anybody, but
Sure.
I'm like, hey, what do you feel about, candidates from this school with regard to this school? Would you hire candidates from this school? And most of them say yes. I say, okay, well, on this job description, it says from a highly accredited university. What is the requirement for a highly accredited university? Because I'll tell you, those two universities I just presented to you are not anywhere close with regard to how their accreditation is viewed in the education realm and in most of corporate America. And so then they again, obviously I'm giving you the Cliff's Notes version, but
Jonathan, where'd you grow up in Michigan?
Grand Rapids, and I've been to Troutman Hall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've been to Go Chips.
See, he did his homework, people. This is great. He's done his homework. He knows that I'm a Chip. I grew up in Michigan as well. I was born in Ann Arbor, raised in Okemos, so we have a lot in common.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but well, good. You're going to land a job. So let's stay in touch, Jonathan. If I can help you in any way, and I'll continue to see if I can think of somebody in the construction business that would be of assistance to help you continue to sharpen your saw.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate you taking the question.
So, so when we left, we were talking about the different kinds of recruiters. We hit on this a little bit when we were talking to Jonathan, and I think that Jeff's got a slide he'll pop up. But there's 3 kinds of recruiters. There's in-house recruiters, and these are the people that work for companies like AT&T and T-Mobile, as an example, maybe Yum Brands, other big companies. And typically these recruiters can be working on anywhere between 30 and 40, 50 job recs at a time. They're very, very busy. They are getting pulled in directions from hiring managers all the time. And so they have learned and they've been trained to only present the absolute best candidates. So if you're trying to build that bridge and get into one of these organizations and you don't have exactly what they're looking for, getting through the recruiter in these situations is going to be typically pretty difficult to do. Now, can you get in the back door by going to the hiring manager? Absolutely. If you've got a connection to the exact hiring manager, and you can create a great dialogue or a reason to have a conversation with that person, absolutely go for it. But don't be disappointed if you get rejected and you think you've got a really good resume and it looks a lot like what the company's looking for. If you're dealing with an internal recruiter, it's just a bigger challenge than you might have with other recruiters. Then there's two kinds of outside recruiters. There's a contingent recruiting firms, and there's retained. The contingent recruiters, if you were a company that was hiring, if you were looking for a vice president of sales, you can go to 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 recruiting companies and sign an agreement with them that says if they bring you the right candidate, then you will pay them X% of the salary. Um, these people work very fast. Okay. They're competing against, in many cases, other recruiters. Now, not always. Sometimes companies will hire a contingent firm and offer them exclusivity for 30 days. What does that mean? That means that the recruiter's going to work for free for 30 days, and only at the end of 30 days, if they have the right candidate, will they get paid anything. Okay. So only one recruiter gets paid. Generally, they work pretty quickly. They'll find resumes. They'll submit candidates quickly. Their conversations with you as a candidate is going to be generally shorter. They're trying to learn, why did you leave the last company? What's your salary? Do you fit the role? It looks like your resume is close to what we're looking for. They may ask some specific questions around that. But they may not have a 2-hour conversation with you or 2 conversations of an hour, because they're moving pretty quickly. They want to get your resume in front of that company, if you're the right candidate, quicker than the next company is. Okay. So that's a little bit about the contingent. Then there's outside retained search firms. That's what I do. So I'm exclusive. Retained search firms are exclusive. We don't compete against other search firms. So if a company is not willing to sign an exclusivity agreement, then I'm not interested in working with them. There's only, I get paid a retainer up front. That's why they call it retained search. So I get a chunk of money up front. And then I get the back of it when I close the relationship, or I fill the job. I generally have a very, very deep understanding and relationship with the client. I know a lot about them. I know a lot about their personal life. I know a lot about the job they're trying to fill. I know a lot about why the person that was in that role before didn't succeed. I know why, if maybe it's not that they're refilling a job, maybe they're filling a new job. I understand the challenges of what they're trying to fill and why they're trying to fill that role. We have a lot of conversations about that. I get to know these people very, very well, because it helps me in my communication with my candidates. Number one is to identify the right candidate. I can't ever interview for fit, but when I'm doing a retained search, and that's all I do, I generally know a lot about the candidate and their personality and whether or not they would be a good fit for the organization. There have been a lot of times an organization will say, look at a resume, I really don't want to talk to that candidate. And I'll say, well, I think you're making a mistake. They may not have all the commercial, industrial building experience, because it was a company that is in the property management space experience. But I know that this person is not afraid of getting on ladders. And I know that this person understands contractors, flat roofs, parking lots. I understand they know a lot about that. And it may not be on their resume, but I'm confident that it would not be a waste of 30 minutes for you to have a call with that person. And I can tell you many times that person gets hired. Okay. So I have strong instincts in intuition that I apply to my job, and to try to make it easier for companies to hire the right candidate. We're not looking for fast and speed. We're looking for the best candidate. Although I do work quicker than that company that takes 4 weeks to find a couple of candidates to present to the organization. So why is it important that you know the difference between internal, contingent, and retained? Because you need to have the confidence when you're talking to a recruiter. You need to have the confidence to be able to ask them, could you take a minute and tell me a little bit about your business? Are you a retained search executive, or are you a contingent? You need to know that, because you'll understand the speed of what that they're working at. You also know that if you're talking to a retained search executive, some of the stories that you want to tell them may reflect what they're trying to accomplish in that job description. You may modify your resume a little bit. All of these things are really important. So it's a-okay to ask a recruiter when they call you, excuse me, it's a-okay to ask them, could you tell me a little bit about your practice? Could you tell me what kind of recruiter you are? Okay. This will help you communicate better with these people. The biggest key and the biggest mistake, again, I'll reiterate what we started talking about at the beginning. Now, I know we haven't even started talking about LinkedIn yet, Jeff, but is that candidates tell me too much up front. They don't need to share. And then candidates start telling me about things that they've done when they may not have even read the job description, because I'm calling them about a role and I haven't even sent the description to them yet. And they start trying to tell me all the things that why I need to hire them. They hear vice president of marketing and they're like, blah, 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 and they give me 15 minutes of data why they're a great marketing person, but I really don't need a great marketing person. I need a great digital marketing person. So be careful about communicating with recruiters. But that's a little bit about recruiters. Any questions in the queue, Jeff?
Yes, JA has a question. Go ahead.
Are you saying James Pence? Sorry, I thought you said
Yes.
JA. Oh, sorry.
All it says is JA Pence, so I don't
Oh,
know
that
what the first
my
name is.
email. I'm sorry. I'll change that up. I apologies. Yes, sir. It's kind of along the lines of kind of what you and Jonathan were speaking about. Is that I'll kind of give you a little background on my situation. Client relationship manager for over 10 years now, and it can be a client relationship, client success manager, account manager. They call them different things in different roles, but it's basically the same process of building relationships, maintaining them, renewing, things of that nature. And it's hard to know who to contact, who to reach out to. And the reason I say that is, for example, I had recently reached out for a position and did not hear anything back. The same company ended up having a career fair, which I went to, ended up speaking to a recruiter there in person for the same position. The next day, I've already got an interview with them. So it's kind of like, without them having a career fair, I would have never gotten in touch with anybody. So it's kind of one of those things on, you know, just applying through websites, I know is never really working anymore. I don't think, because I don't know if anybody's actually getting my resume, because they're going to see 98% of their job description is covered, because they're all saying the same thing: get in touch with the client, be good with them, maintain a relationship. But it's just that tweak of having 10 years experience of their industry, or 5 years, or whatever the case may be, which I can learn. But it's just getting past that initial stage of not having just that experience, but willing to learn it, but see all this other transferable experience that I have. So I don't know who to get in contact with to show that. And through LinkedIn, they may not connect with me because I'm one of thousands to do it, and things of that nature. So I guess what I'm asking is, how do I get in connect with people that can't see me stand out, if that makes sense?
Yep. So JA, when you've had these roles in the past, who have you reported to?
To a not hiring manager at the time. I was reporting to a manager, just the manager of my position.
And what would their title have been?
Uh, Manager of client success, or manager of account manager department. So it's a manager of that department.
Right. And who do they report into? Sales or marketing?
A little bit of both, really, because it's basically it's a sales support type of role, and so I did a multi cross company position where I worked with sales, I worked with attorneys, I worked with management, so I kind of worked internally with all the roles.
Got it. So the reason I'm asking these is because this is a classic example of titles and matching up titles. You've
Yes,
just
sir.
heard JA describe himself, and he's got 15 titles that he can call himself. If you're dealing with internal recruiters and they're looking for a customer service acquisitions expert or manager or um, whatever, and your resume doesn't read exactly like the title, exact words, you're never going to get an interview. They're going to pass you up every time, because they don't think that you've done the job that they've done. And again, it comes back to the immaturity or the lack of experience that they are hiring. They're working for 5 district managers across the country to fill 25 jobs that are customer acquisition retention specialist.
Right.
And your resume has a different title. You've done that work, maybe not in their industry, but you've done that work. But because they see a different title, you go to the bottom of the list. There are applicant tracking systems that companies put very tight parameters on as they screen resumes. And there's many chances, JA, that you are getting bumped because of that. Your resume doesn't read that way. My recommendation is, first and foremost, yeah, applying to jobs is really hard, but you've got to do a little bit of that.
Yes,
So
sir.
number one is when you get a job that you're going to apply to, before you do anything else, make sure you get your resume out and make sure that the job titles reflect exactly word for word what that job is looking for, what that company's trying to hire for. Okay. Now,
Okay.
I'm going to stretch the limit here for everybody on the call, and I'm going to make sure that everybody understands. I don't agree with, or I do not suggest that candidates lie about their background. That's not what we're talking about here. Okay. If James was a if James was a marketing consultant and he changed his resume to say customer acquisition retention specialist, he'd be lying. But when you read the job description, he's done 95% of what this company is looking for. All he's going to do is modify his title. He may change a few other keywords. The only place that you cannot make any modifications to your title or anything that you've done is on the application that you fill out for the company. So when you're filling out job, and that's a final application. So when you're doing online applications, you are A-okay to make those small minor tweaks to your resume so that you might be able to find a little more fruit. The reason I was asking who you reported to is all day long, I would be searching the internet for people that have those titles that you reported to in their background to see if there's companies that you can, make a mix to. And then the last
Gotcha.
thing I would do is I would look at the list of target companies that you've got, James, and I would
Yes, sir.
identify in the top 10, I would go deep into trying to find who the sales and marketing leaders are in those organizations, to see if you can't launch a resume or a conversation, into the bio that says, again, this is when maybe not a handwritten note, but a note that you FedEx or you hand deliver to the office if you can do that,
Yes, sir.
to try to break through the clutter, that says, I know you're hiring a lot of these kinds of people. My experience lends itself very well to your company. I'd be
Yes, sir.
super excited about having a conversations of how we can build that bridge, and I can put my previous work experience to work for you. But
Yes, sir.
you're going to have to be a little bit creative, and again, here's a time when if you can find a couple of other people that do what you do, even
Right.
if it's not in your industry, it's a different industry, to have an accountability group of folks that you can get on a call with every week to say, what jobs are you finding? What did
Right.
you learn last week? Anything that I can learn from that experience would be beneficial, because
Okay.
there are a lot of these jobs out there, and these are jobs that, AI it can only do so much. I can only talk to a computer for so long, and then I've just got to say, agent, agent, agent. I got to talk to somebody live. I don't, I don't like this anymore. So you're in a very valuable space.
Yes, sir.
The other thing that I would do, one last suggestion, and we'll move on, is I
Please.
would look at some of um, the companies that sell the software that you use as a customer service specialist. You know those brands, okay? You
Right.
know those companies that sell that software and sell that technology. You
Yes,
may
sir.
even know some people that consult in that space. I would open up and take blinders off in that space and see if you can find some people that may know about jobs that aren't being posted. This company's getting ready to hire 25 customer service, what you do.
Right.
And you will never find it on the internet because they hire this way or that way or whatever. So those
Okay.
people, again, they know where the new jobs are coming because they're selling their technology by the seat.
Right.
So they
Yes,
know
sir.
when you go from 50 to 100 seats because they make a big commission.
Right.
So if you know those people and you can build some relationships with those kinds of people, they may be able to help identify some low-hanging fruit for you as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the information. It's hard to network when people don't respond. I
I
mean,
agree
you're
with it.
trying to do it out of the best of your heart. You're not trying to be mean about it, but it's just
No.
we're all trying to help each other, but they just don't see whatever reason, don't
Yep.
respond. So
No, I get it. Remember, James, that only 8% of candidates reply to in-mails. Okay. If I've got a new job search and I send out 100 notes, thankfully my numbers are in the 18 to 19%, but I will only get 18 or 19 of the candidates out of 100 that will reply to me. So if your
got
contact information is not in your LinkedIn profile, in the summary section, look at my profile, my contact information, you're making a huge mistake. Because as a recruiter, when I click on your profile, your LinkedIn profile, I only have one choice generally, and that's to send you an in-mail. And
yes,
depending
sir.
on what software I'm using, if I'm using Recruiter, Recruiter Lite, or Navigator, I only get X number of messages a month. Okay. So if
Yes,
you
sir.
give me your email address or a phone number that I can pick up the phone and call you, you go to the
Right.
head of the class. I can have a
Okay.
conversation with you immediately to find out what did you make? What's your salary? What kind of experience do you have? Have you ever used this software? We can knock out a conversation in 8 minutes, and then I can determine whether we want to spend an hour together or not.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you
Yep.
very much.
So let's talk about LinkedIn, Jeff, for just a minute, because I think there are still some things that people can do. And that is to make sure that their LinkedIn profile is the best it can be. You've got a lot of other great people that give great advice on a technical perspective. I think some of the soft things that you want to make sure that you're doing on LinkedIn is that you're utilizing all the space that you can. We talked about that summary section and putting your email address and your phone number in there, but we also want to make sure we're taking advantage of the characters that we've allowed. I think it's some of the most unused real estate in the job search world, where candidates only give us one sentence in that summary section about what they've done. If you're actively looking, that should be 2,500 characters or 3,000 characters, whatever, Jeff, it is today.
Yeah, I think it's 2,600.
2,600. Okay. 2,600 characters. I would fill that space with all kinds of keywords and things that I've done, accomplishments. Write it in a passive voice. So it talks about not like a resume, not in a bullet fashion. You can use bullets, but I'd focus on the things and accomplishments that I'd have, and I'd make sure that that was just filled with keywords that describe what you've done and how you've done it. Okay. Best use of your space. Under each job, I wouldn't just copy and paste my resume. I would make sure that I'm fluid about talking about the things that I've done and the accomplishments that I've had. How did you do it? Did you do it through teamwork? Did you do it through technology? Did you do it through opening new doors? And marketing help you open up an avenue if you're a salesperson. So talk about the things that you've done, because recruiters do read those very quickly, but we also look for keywords. If I'm looking for a new CEO and a company is in the retail, hardware, family owned business, selling fences, um, uh, gate locks, and guard fences for big animals, as an example, I'm making all this up. I'm going to start using all those keywords that I gather from the family about what they're looking for. And I'll build a Boolean search and throw it into LinkedIn to see if I can't find candidates that I might not have found by doing my own searches or using LinkedIn searches. So we use there's a lot of AI in search and recruiting as well. And it provides us the opportunity to throw in who are the CEOs from these companies, and we can get it a lot faster than we can get it from LinkedIn. So keywords are critical in making sure that your information is out there, because all that AI is doing is going and scraping LinkedIn for the most part. Okay. I told you my son has a software business that he's involved with, and if LinkedIn ever shuts down their APIs and doesn't allow other companies to come in and scrape their data, and they make it difficult on those companies every day because they're changing their algorithms. But if they ever stopped it completely, there'd be a lot of companies that, recruiting businesses in AI that would go away, because there's no other place to get it right now. Um, so that's a little bit about LinkedIn. Keywords, contact information, a new photo of just you. I can't tell you how many times I look at a profile of somebody, and it's Carrie, and it's a husband and wife, on their wedding day. Well, I really don't know, is Carrie the male or the female? Is it important to know? No, generally it's not, but just make it simple for people, so they know who they're talking to. Um, so current picture, contact information, put that green wreath around your head if you're unemployed and you're actively looking. I can't tell you how many times companies are doing their own searches and they find a candidate just by looking for people that they used to work for, and your green wreath shows up and they're like, whoa, Jack, I need to talk to Jack now. So put that out there for everybody to be able to see and use. What other questions do we have, Jeff? Any?
Let's see here. Catherine says, I have a lot of keywords under skills. Is it better to have these under the about section or in both places?
Both places. Yep.
Yeah, I think what you will hear is you want your skills to show up 3 to 5 times throughout your uh, LinkedIn profile.
And what we do is when we put keywords in there in LinkedIn and we hit search, it highlights those keywords in your summary or in your resume. Sometimes we don't scroll all the way down to see the skills. So definitely bring those forward into the summary and into your actual resume.
And nowadays, LinkedIn will allow you to put skills for every job that you have, which is, I think, one of the best things they've done. So you can pick 5 to 8 skills and load that for each job that you've got listed.
Yep.
Catherine also asked, what about projects?
To the degree that you can describe a project or something that you were involved in, I'll give an example. A friend of mine, back in the early AT&T days, was part of a digital transformation. We went from analog to digital. Absolutely, that was a project that if you were you were hiring a project manager and you wanted somebody with telecom experience, that data would pop and you would want that person on your team. So as long as they're projects that were, that you can describe easily, if it takes you, 300 words to describe the project, then maybe there's better use of that real estate.
But there is a separate place to list projects, and
Oh,
once again,
absolutely.
yeah, and it's another opportunity for more keywords to pop
Yep.
up.
Yep. Agreed. And then I think the last thing, Jeff, we'll just go real quickly here, because I think it's always good to talk about it. I hear stories, success stories all the time. And that's the prayer letter that we talk about. Again, this isn't something that I haven't written a book about, and I don't get paid to offer you. It's not something I'm going to send you to a website to go find the format. Jeff will pop up a few slides and I'll just kind of talk through it as we go. But the bottom line is, I've talked about how important your network is. Your network is your net worth. Okay. And why is that so important? It's because these are the people that know you. They've worked with you, they've worked for you, they've called on you, they're your neighbor, they go to church with you, they're in a Bible study with you. There's some kind of relationship that you have with these people. And so communicating with them on a regular basis is absolutely critical. If you reach out to your network on Monday and tell everybody that you're actively looking for a new job, generally speaking, by Friday, they will have forgotten. And it's not because you're not a good person, but it's because they're busy, and you know you've been in that role before where you're busy and somebody calls you and you forget to follow up on what you told them you do. Maybe none of you are like that, but I know I've made mistakes like that in my past. So the prayer letter is really, really a great tool for you to not only talk to your network once, but to keep that flow of communication going throughout your entire job search. It can come in many different formats, but the first thing I need you to do is spend a week or so in developing a list of every email address, phone number, and name of people that are in your network. Goes into an Excel spreadsheet. It's really simple. Name, email address, phone number. Maybe it's a note of how you know that person. If it's not a direct connection, you know Jack because this, or you met him at this event or something, that's fine to have some notes in there as well. And I want you to take about a week or two to develop that list. And then what I want you to do is I want you to literally pick up the phone and call every one of those people. Okay. And if we get a voice message, it sounds like this. Hey, Bob, Kurt here. I find myself looking for new opportunities, and you're one of the top people in my network. I just wanted to reconnect with you. If you've got 6 minutes in the next couple of days, I'd love for you to call me. It can be on the way home from work or early in the morning. My phone back is this number. I look forward to catching up, and we'll talk real soon. Hopefully, you don't leave a lot of those messages, because what you want to do is you want to have the person pick up the phone, and then you can tell them a little bit more about what's going on in your career. I'm actively looking for new opportunities. Some of the target companies that I'm looking at, always have target companies ready for people that you're talking to. And never send a resume unless the company or the person you're talking to asks for a resume. And that's across all boundaries. You are in a job search. You are trying to build conversations with people right now. So the biggest mistake you can make is by sending resumes too early. If you're sending resumes before you got job descriptions, you may be just throwing a smoke into the air because you really don't know what you're applying for. Okay. You might have an idea, but you don't know for sure. So hold off sending resumes to the end. So the conversation, you left them a voicemail. Well, now month 2 comes. You talk to everybody. You spend a lot of time talking to all those people in the first 30 days, the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks. There may be 100 people on this list, and there may be 500 people on this list. Each one of you is going to be a little different. You made the calls. Now I'm going to tell you, you got to reach out to those people one time again. And you need to do it every month. So we can't continue to make phone calls because that just gets old and it takes too much time. So one other thing, when you get somebody live on the phone, make sure you know their phone number works, but make sure you've got the right email address. People change email addresses frequently these days. So make sure you've got the right email address that they are reading, whether that's personal or business, and make sure you got the right email address. The second month, what you do is you go into that Excel spreadsheet and you gather all those email addresses, copy them into email. If you've got 500, you might want to put them in lists of 250 or 150 each, break them up if you want to. They all go into a BCC, no CCs, no twos. You don't have to have that in your email. You can send 150 emails to BCC. There doesn't have to be a 2, there doesn't have to be a BCC. And in this note, it says, in the line, it's in the subject line, it says, great people know great people. And then in the body, it says, as we talked a month ago, I continue to look for new opportunities. And some of the target companies that I'm looking at this month include, and you give them 3 or 4 target companies. If you or somebody in your network has contacts with these or companies like these, I would greatly appreciate an introduction. Feel free to reach out, or feel free to copy this message and send it to anybody in your network. And then always ask and pay it forward. If there's anything I can do for you or a friend, don't hesitate to call. I'll be back in touch in 30 days. So that's the prayer letter. Once you write that letter, you really don't have to modify it much other than the target companies. And again, do not attach a resume to this letter, okay? This is just a standalone email. If you send out 100 notes in the first month, you'll probably get about 30 or 40 back. Sorry to hear you're still looking. I'll keep you in mind. But as you send it every month, the quality will just get better and better and better, and the leads will get stronger and stronger and stronger. These people know who you are in most cases. They know what you're capable of doing. You're sending them target companies, but they also have companies that they are thinking about that might be a good fit for you or could be an opportunity. And it may not happen in month one. It may take month 4 for Jack or Jane to say, oh man, I was just with this client of mine and they're looking for you. And I completely forgot, but now I'll make an introduction. And then they'll call and say, hey, I got an introduction that I want to make. I need your resume. And at that point, you could say, great, can I have a couple of hours? Because I just want to go do a little bit of research on this company and who they are and what they're doing. Um, and you might ask, have you seen a job description? But even if you haven't, you can find a lot out on the internet about this company. Make any modifications, clean up your resume, make sure it's targeted to that company before you put that in the hands of the person that you're asking to make that introduction for you. Lastly, when you're networking with people that are unemployed, they're great networkers. They know what you're going through and they'll make that introduction very quickly. When you're working with people that are employed, they suck at doing any kind of introductions. Okay. And I can speak to that from right now. I'm working on a project for a company and I'm trying to get introduced to physician network groups out there. And I've got 10 or 15 people that I've targeted that could help me get introduced to UT Southwestern, Baylor, Harris, MD Anderson in their HR department because I got something that I think they'd like to learn about. And these people all have jobs. And when they call me and tell me that their son's looking for a job, they just graduated from college, I don't drop what I'm doing, but within 48 hours, I'm having a conversation with that kid. And I'm telling you, I can't get these people to call me back or return an email or return a phone call. So you've got to do the work for these people. Do not just assume that they don't want to reply to you. Provide them with the email that you want them to send to Bob. If Jack has said, I'll introduce you to Bob over at XYZ, send him that email that he can just copy and paste and send it to his contact. Okay. He'll still make the modifications, but make it easy on him. Don't wait for him to send the email. As a follow up, Jack, that was really cool that you would offer to make an introduction to Bob over at XYZ. Here's an introductory email that you might use that will help accelerate that conversation. Don't send them 5 paragraphs of stuff, though. Make it short and concise, okay? Because all he's doing is making an introduction. And don't send your resume because all you're trying to do is get him to forward it so that that hiring manager, that person, will pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, Billy, I understand you're looking for a new opportunity. We're hiring. Now a conversation starts. Then we can decide what resume we want to send. Sorry, I went a little bit over there, Jeff, but I think the data is good and I think it's useful for everybody on the call, I hope.
Yep, very good. Thank you very much. So Kurt, thank you for your time today. Next Tuesday, our presenter will be Locke Alderson. He'll talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting strategies to get results. So join us next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow, the practice interview team is meeting in person, being the first Tuesday of the month. They meet in person on the first, second, third, and fifth Wednesday of the month. They are online on the fourth Wednesday of the month. So if you live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you're welcome to come join us at Christ United Methodist Church, the corner of Coit and Parker in Plano, Texas. If you live outside the area or you can't make it and you want to still get some interviewing experience, we're recommending you watch session 8 of 13, how to ask questions in interview. If you did not get that link in the email this week, you can just go to the careerusa.org website and look for the Interview Wednesday online. When you see that, you open that up, it'll get you to the link and you can watch that video at your convenience tomorrow. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, being the first Friday of the month, we always do open forum. We'll talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. So bring your questions. Everybody who's participating can offer their experience and their advice. If you want to join the Career DFW or CareerUSA.org LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join the Career DFW group, but you do need to have a profile that's mostly complete. I will look at your profile and I will accept you if your profile is mostly complete. This session has been recorded. You will be able to find it on the Career USA YouTube channel later this afternoon. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so. That way, every time we post a new video, you'll find out about it. On the Career USA YouTube channel, every video I post goes into a playlist. So click on playlist when you get there, and 7 different playlists will appear. In this case, if you click LinkedIn where you see that red arrow, don't click on the video, but click where it says view full playlist, and I'll become a list of all the dates in chronological order, the speaker and the topic, and you can go back and watch any one of those videos at your convenience. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, you're welcome to join the Career USA mailing list. Just scan this QR code and send a blank email, or send a blank email to CareerUSA +subscribe@groups.io. Just send a blank email and you'll get added to the list. It's controlled by me, so you won't be spammed by anybody else. I control the list, and only videos about our workshops are going out on them. Please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Kurt is a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 15, 16 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great Tuesday. Kurt, once again, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you later in the week.
Love for it. Peace, guys.